You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters, we got a couple of different Raiders updates here. Both of them kind of big, to be honest with you. We got arguably the biggest star on the Raiders team, MAXX Crosby, Davante Adams. At any rate, they're both massive stars, and MAXX Crosby, I know, is a massive fan favorite, coming out, making some remarks about something that many Raiders fans are very concerned about, very much at the forefront of what they've got going on in their fandom, which is, of course, is Antonio Pierce and Champ Kelly going to stay? And how do the players feel about that? I know a lot of fans are hoping Antonio Pierce gets his shot. And then we've got something else that's pretty big, and it's something we've talked about before, Tom Brady and his minority ownership with the Raiders. Now, I've talked about before, this is a big deal to Mark Davis. Why is it a big deal? Number one, him and Brady are tight. He's become a very big voice in the background of Mark Davis and somebody he wants to confide in, obviously, which makes the Josh McDaniels firing even more interesting, really, because, of course, Tom Brady played under Josh McDaniels. I've continued to say, I really want to know how much input Tom Brady had there. I think that is a very big story that has yet to come out. We know Gronk didn't seem very supportive of Josh McDaniels either. But we know the NFL owners stepped in and said, not so fast, Tom Brady. We're not allowing you. You're not going to be able to buy this minority stake at such a massive discount. And what was going on here was Mark Davis was giving Tom Brady a massive discount. Now, a couple of things. Number one of the things we've talked about is the fact that Roger Goodell and other NFL owners would actually love to see the Raiders owned by somebody else. Okay, they don't love Mark Davis at all. We've seen all the feuding between the NFL and Mark Davis over one John Gruden. And the fact that, of course, Mark Davis furious that he had to essentially fire John Gruden. We all know that. And the fact that John Gruden is suing the NFL right now. The other thing is they would love, and we've talked about this, they would love to have a Jerry Jones, Robert Kraft kind of owner, a big swinger coming in there owning the Raiders. Businessman, a massive, somebody that brings something to the table, a lot like those two guys or Stan Kroenke or somebody like that that's got an abundance of wealth. And we know the Raiders are one of the, as far as actual cash money on hand, Mark Davis doesn't have a ton of it compared to the other NFL owners. Tom Brady does what for Mark Davis? He brings massive name recognition to ownership. All right? Oh, well, the Raiders and Mark Davis feels a little different when you got Tom Brady as part of the ownership group there. So I wanted to give an update on this before we get to MAXX Crosby and Antonio Pierce, but the approval is not planned, but it's also not dead. Okay, the deal is not dead. This is Bleacher Report. 7-time Super Bowl champion Tom Brady's efforts to purchase a minority stake in the Las Vegas Raiders from owner Mark Davis have stalled. But a deal is, quote, definitely not dead, per a source to Mark Maskey of the Washington Post. Quote, Tom Brady's proposed deal with Mark Davis to purchase a minority ownership stake in the Raiders is currently not expected to be put to an approval vote of NFL owners at their meetings next week in Dallas. Oh, that should get some coverage on this channel. There's always a couple of things that come out of the owners' meetings. And, of course, they have multiple meetings. We know that, but there's always something. The source says, but the deal is, quote, definitely not dead, another source says. The NFL Finance Committee has concerns about some of the aspects of Tom Brady's proposed deal to become a part owner of the Raiders, including the amount of discount being given to Brady. And, guys, it is one hell of a huge discount. But the committee has left open the possibility of an acceptable deal being worked out. And the reason this has become a problem is because if you're Josh Harris and Magic Johnson and that ownership group, and you're David Tepper and the Carolina Panthers, that ownership group, or the Waltons, etc., in Denver, these people all just purchased NFL franchises. And then you look up and you see the proposed amount that Mark Davis is this massive 90% discount, and it's a big-ass discount. Per Maskey and Nikki Javala of the Washington Post in October, the NFL's Finance Committee had not signed off on the deal, with concerns surrounding the discounted price Raiders principal owner Mark Davis is offering Brady. They added that the deal would not be approved without modifications, but that Brady could have a 5 to 10% stake in the team should it eventually go through. Forbes valued the Raiders at $6.2 billion last August, the sixth highest figure in the NFL. Per Indianapolis Colts owner Jim Irsay to Ben Volen of the Boston Globe, Brady was looking to buy 10% of the team for $175 million. That 10% is actually worth $1.75 billion. Yikes. That is a massive, massive discount. At any rate, the deal is not dead. But it's clear there's work to be done before the league approves. Ownership groups from at least 24 of the 32 teams must approve the deal. So that's where the Tom Brady thing stands. It's not dead. It's still alive. But what's going to happen is he's going to have to figure out how he can pay more money for it. You know, that's a 90% discount for Tom Brady. And we know how this story goes. You know, I did a couple of videos on it. The Raiders hired Josh McDaniels with the intent in the offseason of Tom Brady coming to play for the Raiders, not retiring. And Tom Brady changed his mind. And then, of course, it set off a nightmarish chain of events. I think it may be one of the reasons Derek Carr got let go. They thought they were getting Tom Brady. And boy, that hasn't turned out at all. So, we come over here to USA Today, Raiders Wire, and we've got some comments from MAXX Crosby. Okay, of course, he's talking about supporting interim head coach Antonio Pierce, interim GM Champ Kelly, as he prepares for the final 5 games of the regular season. It's a massive stretch of games. It's massive. Number one, still technically speaking at 5-7, the Raiders are alive. They are alive. They look better. They do. But they got to score more points. All right? They've got to score more points. You got a rookie quarterback who played very well against the Chiefs. But you got to start getting up in that 24-point range consistently. Crosby reveals his stance during an interview with the NFL media's insiders. Quote, selfishly, I want them to continue to be the head coach and GM. I've been very honest with them. I've told Mark the same thing. He's told Mark Davis that. It's well known that Davis listens to his top players to measure the pulse of the Raiders locker room, but it's unclear how much Davis will take their opinions into account regarding the next coach, especially after Crosby wanted the Raiders' last interim coach, Rich Bisaccia, to earn the job as well. Davis hired ex-coach Josh McDaniels instead. I think that's one of the reasons McDaniels failed. Bisaccia was, overwhelmingly liked by that locker room, all right? And he was a player's coach kind of guy, just like Antonio Pierce, and you brought in a complete Belichickian hard ass that doesn't give a rat's ass how players feel. That's just the Patriots way. Okay, it's their way or the highway. So think about that a minute. I think that's one of the reasons why Josh McDaniels didn't work out. All right? It was such a drastic coaching style change combined with the fact that they wanted the last guy before him anyway. I mean, he led them to a playoff berth. Granted, he was set up nicely by John Gruden, but you get the point. And he may get an interview, too. Bisaccia led the Raiders to a playoff berth and still didn't get the job. So Crosby knows that Las Vegas has to win down the stretch to give Pierce and Kelly a chance to remain in the roles. Quote, for me, I take it as extra motivation to help this team win so they can be in position they're in now for the long term. I've had a lot of head coaches and a lot of change in my 5 years. I just want stability and honesty. I feel like AP and Champ are everything that represents that. Those guys are super honest, they're straightforward, and I think they're doing an incredible job. Pierce is 2-2 as Raiders coach, so a winning record over the last 5 games should give him a legitimate chance at keeping the job or at least getting a serious interview. Furthermore, his success will improve Kelly's chances of remaining general manager. It's going to be very interesting. It is. We know there's a lot of rumors out there. A lot of rumors. Jim Harbaugh, John Gruden, Rich Bisaccia. I mean, that's absolutely a narrative out there, is the idea that Mark Davis is like, I screwed up Bisaccia last time, I'm bringing him back this time. You know? But the problem is now you got another players coach that everybody seems to like a lot, a guy that was a good NFL player, okay? Antonio Pierce was good, very solid to good as an NFL defensive linebacker, if I remember right. Redskins, Giants. The guys love him, especially on defense. They're going to love him, you know? And that defense is pretty good. It's gotten better. And I've heard some rumors out there that if Pierce was to get the job, I guess there's some free agents out there that would already have an eye for looking in the Raiders' direction because of Pierce. Well, I mean, that can't be a bad thing. If all of a sudden your coach makes you a free agent destination, that's a major plus. In other words, people want to come play for him, and in turn, they want to bust their ass for him. Know what I'm saying? Interesting. Tom Brady deal, not dead. I'd love to know how much influence in the head coaching search does Brady have. That's interesting, too. But the fact is, Mark Davis wants to be able to get involved with owners' meetings and all that, and Tom Brady comes swagging in the door like Magic Johnson is swagging in the door with Josh Harris. It makes sense that Tom Brady would become the other face of the Raiders and him adding some, substantial gravitas besides just Mark Davis, who the owners don't like. What are you going to do? Hate the GOAT? Really? Okay. Jim Irsay hates him, but, he may be liquored up for all we know. Peace, I'm out. Till next time. Oh, he said that.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.